Hello everyone and welcome to our new Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 theory. We will be using official unused concept art and info found within the games, as well as some other details that you may have missed. I already have 3 videos dissecting and explaining every single detail on the short Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, what or who that hand belongs to, Link and Zelda's possible new abilities, and we try our best to rearrange the trailer to put it all in order. In this new video, we're going to explain some interesting connections that came up when we were answering Zelda questions from viewers on our podcast, the 𝐓𝐳𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐠𝐫. A lot of you have asked how Ganondorf can even exist. He gave up his original form to become Calamity Ganon. I think we can look at past games for an easy answer. Ocarina of Time has us defeat him, then he has a giant flaming castle full of spikes fall with him, and he still jumps back up within minutes. We defeat him once again in his Ganon form, literally stabbing him through the face. He still isn't dead, and it requires Zelda and all of the sages to work together to seal him. Wind Waker has him stabbed in the face yet again, this time in his human form, and he turns into a statue that is left at the bottom of the ocean. Twilight Princess shows an attempt at an execution, which does almost nothing to him. So he is sealed in the Twilight Realm, and it seems, somehow, may or may not have lost his physical form. Maybe this is similar to what happens with the other humans that get lost in the Twilight when it starts covering Hyrule. Yet he still used his power in this form to find a way to escape. A Link to the Past has him sealed in the Dark World, but again, he is so powerful. He was able to use his power to create a completely different version of himself as a way to trick the royal family and free his true self, which we have sort of seen in other games with the different versions of Phantom Ganon. So no matter which timeline you look at, Ganondorf has many examples of being sealed in a completely different world or dimension while he is at his weakest point and almost dying, sometimes even losing his physical body entirely, and he is still able to easily come back. With all of that, we can understand why the royal family from 10,000 years ago didn't banish him from Hyrule. Instead, we get a brand new type of seal, which is somewhat similar to what we see Zelda use to stop demise. The Zelda series has a few different seals. Games like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess just had Zelda or others use their power one time to seal Ganon, and that's it. Zelda in Skyward Sword has a more active seal, where she sacrifices herself to constantly be using her full power at all times to try and permanently keep the seal strong. And although that seal did weaken, it was only after 1,000 years, and with Ghirahim actively trying to resurrect him. We also see this in Breath of the Wild, with Zelda keeping Calamity Ganon sealed for 100 years, before his calamity has built up enough to break free from the seal. So with the original seal from 10,000 years ago, we are told they created the divine beasts and guardians to help defeat Ganondorf. And we do know that Link on his own has been able to defeat Ganondorf and his Ganon form, just by using the Master Sword or special arrows. Then he is sometimes sealed again. It seems like 10,000 years ago, they were unable to actually kill Ganondorf or keep him from coming back, which led to the creation of the divine beasts and guardians. In the end, this still didn't quite work. They had no choice but to seal him, and it seems it may have been this kind of permanent active seal, which requires the sealer to seal or sacrifice themselves as well. We don't know exactly who sealed Ganondorf, but we can look at the evidence that we are shown. In all past Zelda games, Zelda has been the only human who is constantly able to seal him. Even the sages working together had to either use their power to just help Zelda, possibly due to them already being in the Sacred Realm, where they just happened to be sending Ganondorf. The sages in Twilight Princess couldn't even seal him or kill him with their combined power. They were forced to use the Twilight Mirror, which anyone can use to go back and forth as many times as they want with no effort. This is why Zant destroys it. Then Midna herself shatters it at the end of the game. It doesn't seem Sheikah members are powerful enough on their own to seal someone, at least someone as powerful as Ganondorf. Since if they could, I'm sure with as powerful as Impa was in Skyward Sword, Instead of going through all of the trouble to constantly save and teach Zelda to use her powers, she would have done it herself, as the entire time, Zelda was in a 1,000-year sleep, and 𝐈𝐴 had to give up 1,000 years of her own life anyways, sitting in front of Zelda's body protecting her. Ocarina of Time also has 𝐈𝐴 protecting and training Zelda. However, in Breath of the Wild, we do see many other monks sitting perfectly still, as if they sealed themselves, until that seal is broken by Link. All of them are also buried deep underground, some caves deep enough to house shrines that are multiple times the size of the entire Temple of Time. All of these monks, collectively, could be powering the seal we see holding down Ganondorf, as the hand somewhat resembles someone who's also been sealed for a long time. But I also think they could have a completely different purpose, which I'll be explaining in a theory video coming within the next week. If these sages all working together aren't powerful enough, if the many different versions of 𝐈𝐴 throughout the series, who is also the most powerful Sheikah we know of, isn't able to seal Ganondorf, who did? I would love to hear your own theory on this, but I do have a strong idea based on the evidence that we do have. We've only seen power like this come from Hylia, a literal god in the Zelda series. Zelda, the reincarnation of Hylia, who also has her power, all 4 of the light spirits in Twilight Princess, who are seemingly so powerful, even the 3 goddesses asked them to seal the Dark Interlopers. Finally, the Triforce itself, which uses the power of all 3 goddesses. It is possible Nintendo could create a new character or godlike deity, but for now, we can only answer this with what we actually see in the games. And sadly, the obvious answer would be a Zelda from the past. Probably one who, unlike Breath of the Wild's Zelda, knew exactly how to use her power, which is why Ganondorf was able to be held for over 10,000 years. Zelda, who was taught and trained by 𝐈𝐴, was only able to hold Demise for 1,000 years. Zelda in Breath of the Wild, who doesn't really know how to use her power, was only able to seal Ganondorf for 100 years. So this Zelda from the past must have been as powerful as Hylia herself, or at least the second most powerful person from any of these Zelda games. And why is he below Hyrule Castle and not buried deep beneath a different area, such as the Gerudo Desert? Yes, some fans have their own theory on where Ganondorf is, and strongly debate against him simply being sealed beneath the castle. Well, Nintendo has yet to officially confirm that Ganondorf's body is beneath Hyrule Castle. However, it is the most obvious location based on in-game facts, and is the location that most fans believe. If you have your own theory on where he is located, please comment below so we can all discuss it with you. A few reasons this is the most popular theory. If this continued as it did in most previous Zelda games, Ganondorf is usually defeated and sealed during a battle at the castle. Nintendo also released official concept art of Ganondorf standing on a floating island similar to what he does with Ganon's castle in Ocarina of Time, but also exactly what we see beginning to happen to Hyrule Castle in this trailer, right after Ganondorf wakes up and causes the entire room to shake violently. We have a few more facts and details that could help explain this, but to hurry and get to the next part of this theory, the final thing that we see, which explains why Ganon is resurrecting in the center of the castle, we see his reddish purple malice flowing out of his body and shooting up at the ceiling, possibly going through or somehow making its way to form the egg he hatches from. Now, if he is in fact buried or sealed here, why would the old king and everyone seal his body in the exact spot that would be an advantage for him if he were to come back, like he always does? In past Zelda games, when the big bad guy is sealed, he is sealed and sent to another world, such as Ocarina of Time and the Sacred Realm, A Link to the Past, and the Dark World, which just happens to be the corrupted version of the Sacred Realm. In Twilight Princess, the sages try a different approach, and just executing him. It fails, and he is sent into the Twilight Realm. We do have examples of someone being sealed in the same spot they are defeated in Skyward Sword with Demise, and the various battles with his imprisoned form to reseal him. So it's most likely that Ganondorf, 10,100 years ago, as depicted in the scroll behind 𝐴𝐴, had made his way to the castle, as he almost always does, and was defeated in or close to the castle. Then he was sealed in a location where they thought no one would be able to find his body, which is something that is actually common in real life with people like this, as to not let his followers know where he is located. After all, it seems no matter where you send or seal him, the Sacred Realm, the Dark World, the Twilight Realm, or wherever, he seems to always have followers find him and bring him back, or he is able to escape through manipulating and gaining other followers, which actually happens to be the same thing he does to Aster in Age of Calamity. So they decide to bury him deep underground, where no one would be able to find him, which seemingly actually worked, considering over 10,000 years has passed, and the 𝐈𝐧𝐬, as well as his demon tribes, were completely useless. Now, digging this incredibly long and deep cave would be something they could easily do as well, as we see with the incredible amount of underground shrines made by the Sheikah, whose job just so happens to be to protect the royal family. And they even seal themselves in a similar but less terrifying way to which we see Ganondorf in. As mentioned at the beginning, we have other videos going even more in depth on different Breath of the Wild 2 theories, the story, new abilities for Link and Zelda, with other theories that are linked below. Let us know where you think Ganondorf is buried, and more importantly, where you think the entrance to the cave would be located. I don't want to touch on it too much because we give every detail that we can in the other video, so I'll just say, however long or deep you think this cave is, it is much longer. Common sense tells us this simply because they knew it was so long they would need an elephant. And yes, I know it's not an elephant, it's a water buffalo, but for continuity's sake, I'm just going to keep calling it an elephant, just to carry all of the camping equipment they would need to make this underground journey. And at one point, we even see that they have went so far, and at one point, they have been walking in this cave for so long, they had to stop and refill all of their water bottles. We have more Breath of the Wild 2 theories coming the same week this video is uploaded. And if you want more behind the scenes details on Breath of the Wild or Age of Calamity, feel free to check out any of our many interviews and videos with a lot of the different voice actors who worked on the games, and what the development process was like for them. That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫, here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda theories, our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐽 on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐽. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our GameOverJesse or 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐽 t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.